Welcome back to Just Call Jenna. I'm your host, Jenna Williams. Thanks for coming. So we're going to talk a little bit about why intention matters. With awareness of what we have, what you intend is the direction you're going to go. So I think that number one, you have to shrink the task, but you need to give yourself permission to scale the habit. You need to give yourself permission to not be perfect. So scale the habit. What does that really mean? To me, it means coming up with priority 1, 2, 3. So, for example, maybe my overall goal, like my New Year's resolution, my ultimate, is that I'm going to work out an hour a day. Well, maybe that's my A game. That's when I'm firing on all cylinders. I'm at my best. My B game or my priority 2 might be the consistent habit I'm really going for. And that might be that I'm getting up and going to the gym and just running on the treadmill for 20 minutes. And my priority 3, I'm at my lowest low. I'm literally talking myself out of doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm ready to give up at the habit. I just don't care. Today was the worst day ever. But building that consistency, scaling the habit, it might be that today is the worst and I want to give up, so I'm just going to run around the block for 5 minutes. Okay, let's take that to another place outside of working out, because many of you aren't going to want to go work out. But if we break that priority 1, 2, 3, maybe it's into reading like me. I love to read. Well, my priority 1 might be that I'm going to read a chapter every day. My priority 2 might be that I'm going to read 10 pages every day. My priority 3 might be I'm going to get up, sit in my chair, and attempt to read a paragraph. Now, that scaling was so important in my healing. So give yourself permission to scale the habit. Well, I have a chair that I sit in and I read. Nowadays, my reading is about 30 minutes to an hour each day, depending on how long I sleep in, which, by the way, I don't wake up with an alarm anymore. Fabulous. You should absolutely do that. Beyond that, I think it's making that consistent space where I got up and went to that chair every day. Every day I go to that chair. On my worst days when I get up and I'm like, I don't want to be awake. I'm really not interested in even doing any. Grown life is hard. Yes, I'm human. I have those days too. I'm not going to lie and say I don't. That would be silly to assume that I didn't. But on those days, I still make the space. Okay, I'm going to go sit in my chair. Maybe I'm not reading a whole chapter. Maybe I'm not reading for an hour. Maybe I'm only reading the next paragraph. And that's okay. By consistently, no matter what I feel like, having a priority 1, 2, or 3, and giving myself permission to scale the habit for what I can do that day, that's important. We all have limits, boundaries, availability to do things. So let me tell you a story that happened to me when I was healing. The brain goes into overwhelm. And how did I really learn the value of scaling the habit and getting out of that survival mode? Well, I went out to dinner with a good friend of mine, and I don't know, it was maybe a month after I could walk again, so maybe 2 or 3 months into the stroke. We went to an Italian restaurant. I ordered the chicken fettuccine. Okay, I got to tell you, if you can imagine what a bowl of pasta looks like in an Italian restaurant, I looked at it and was like, I'm starving and can't eat a bite. Well, my brain went into, again, remember, it didn't know if I was fighting a saber-toothed tiger or just the pasta was overwhelming, but it went into full survival mode and I was panicked. Well, we moved the pasta bowl over, took the bread plate, put a scoop of pasta on the bread plate, and it was a manageable, scalable chunk that I could live with. I ended up eating about half the bowl of pasta, not because I could eat it out of the bowl. That big bowl was overwhelming, but a little bite on a bread plate, I got through half the bowl. So when you think about scaling the habit, that's a huge thing to understand. Your brain doesn't know the difference, but if the task is too big, it will literally fight itself. You're biologically wired to do it. Sorry to inform you, it's not a mindset thing. Your brain is wired that way. But if you scale the habit, if you break it into a manageable chunk, you can get through that. So just like the pasta on the bread plate, or the reading a paragraph versus a chapter, or the gym an hour versus walking around the block, give yourself permission to scale the habit. When you shrink the task into a manageable chunk, your brain can go to the easy place and go, oh, this is easy. I'm not overloaded. My cognitive ease is fine. And you can do and go much further. You do not hit the wall. You do not get to a barrier where your brain goes, nope, can't do it. It's very manageable. But I think, in my view, the place when we go back to the filters and the brain and the biological wiring, you have to allow yourself permission to do that. I believe we're all trained to be harder on ourselves than anybody else. You would let your best friends scale the habit, so why won't you let yourself? I think you have to give yourself permission to do that. You have to allow yourself to not be priority one all the time. It's exhausting to be on all the time. But you also have to have what your brain can do. You can't be a whole bowl of pasta. Maybe you need to be a bread plate full that is digestible, manageable. So have your priority 1, 2, 3, and give yourself permission to shrink the habit into what you can manage. You do not need to make it harder on yourself. You can allow your brain to be a little lazy. Use it to your advantage instead of getting stuck in survival mode. Trust me, you're never going to feel ready. It's not a feeling, it's a decision. You decide to take the action when you're in survival mode, but you don't need to make it harder on yourself. You can give yourself permission to shrink the task so it's easier to take the action forward you need to take. You got to get unstuck somehow. You could spend your whole life wondering if you're ready. Can I eat that bowl of pasta? I don't know. I can't do it. But you know what? You can give yourself permission to put a bite on the plate and say, it's okay if I don't eat the whole bowl. I'm just going to eat a plate. Again, you're never going to feel ready. You could spend time in your brain coming up with all the perfect reasons why, but you're never going to be ready to eat the pasta. That bowl is overwhelming. Your brain is fighting you on it. Go ahead and put it on the bread plate. Go ahead and do that. Give yourself permission. Let yourself be ready. A second concept that's really important in intention is words are alchemy. Words are like spells. I mean, I'm no witch, but words are spelling. I mean, English, it's spelling tests, right? What you speak and spell, it's alchemy. What you're giving that, the alchemy is how you're telling your brain to filter. So don't go through your day saying, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm not good enough. Because guess what? You're going to find all the reasons you're not. Instead, use your words to speak what you want. I'm getting better every day. I'm taking a risk to put out a podcast and share my story. These are big risks, but those words are alchemy. So for me, I have a couple of things I say every day, and I'll share them with you because they make a big difference to me. Abundance is a mindset. So I am abundant every day. It's abundant isn't tied to money. That's a factor, but abundance is the freedom to live the life I want to live. And a big chunk of that was my own personal responsibility. I had to let go of what other people thought of me. I had to let that bounce off of me, roll off of me, and not carry it with me. I had to let it go. They were heavy bricks I was carrying around. If you think of an eagle, can an eagle fly the highest it can fly if it's carrying a load of bricks? No. You need to let that stuff go so you can soar to the heights of who you need to be. Words are alchemy. They're going to teach the filter in your brain what to do. So be careful what you speak. Words become alchemy. They become the ignited spark of energy that travels a certain way. Be careful what you say. You can't always control your thoughts, but you can control what you say. So be mindful with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself permission. Give yourself a little grace. You're human. You're allowed to make a mistake. You're just not allowed to make the same mistake 100 times without growing. That's probably where the problems come in. Mistakes happen. We're not perfect. Give ourselves permission. Priority 1, 2, 3. If it's a priority that you do it every day. It doesn't matter to the scale. An A, B, or C is still a passing grade. I also want to talk to you about letting go. We touched on the subject of a bird can't soar when it's carrying weight. Hardest thing is letting go. I remember talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about something that was heavy, like a life thing. And I'm not going to break confidence, but we all know those kind of things. They're a weight. They're heavy. They don't feel good. And we were talking about that. And at one point she asked me how I felt about it. And I just said, is this mine to carry? So it was not my weight to carry. And I had to give myself permission to let that go. That act opened up a priority 1, 2, 3 for me where I started realizing I could let other things go. So for me personally, on top of healing, I had to heal from the inside. I had to do that hard work that nobody wants to look in the mirror and see the ugly parts of themselves, but I sure had to do that. Well, letting go was a big one. Will this matter to 5 years from now me? Because I've lived enough life to know that I can remember when I was 20 and I had the broken heart. Oh, it was going to end forever. I think it was, some kind of broken heart song. Where do broken hearts? I mean, come on, we've all been there. I had the wonderful 80s music to get me through it. There are some great 80s love songs. But the whole point is I can remember the me at that time, because it was 5 years ago, right? But I can remember the me at that time thinking life was over on that day. It was never going to end. It was the end all be all. I'll never find love again. Every single one of us has had that broken heart. And if you haven't, you probably haven't lived much. But if you can go back and think of that version of you, the world was ending. The sky was falling. DEFCON 5. It was the worst of the worst. If you look back at you now, you can probably go, I thought that was the end, but it wasn't that big a deal. There is a beautiful concept in Japanese culture called your Ikigai. It's your reason for being. Okay, maybe some of us say, what's my purpose? I'm not sure that it's going to go that deep, but the idea of Ikigai and what I find the most beautiful about it is that when you live from your purpose, when you're doing what you love, what aligns with you, the work feels lighter, the day feels brighter, the road is lighter, the day is sunnier, you can fly higher. So when you live from your Ikigai, you have a purpose. There's so many resources out there to figure out about it. In fact, there's a beautiful book called Ikigai. Highly recommend it. But the whole idea is, what's your purpose? Living from where you're at. Remember the Raz and the filter and words being alchemy. All of that goes along with that concept. What's your reason for being? Now, to me, when I started, Ikigai seemed overwhelming, just like the pasta bowl. It seemed completely out of touch. Like I'm supposed to know what my purpose is? Like I just survived death. I'm supposed to know a purpose? But I gave myself permission to scale the habit. Started small. Priority 1, 2, 3. Somebody recommended journaling to me. I can't stand a journal. My left hand doesn't even work yet. Writing is not easy. But I found that place to start with my awareness. Priority 1, 2, 3. What do I love? What makes me feel warm and expanded? What words do I not like? Here's an interesting fact. I have a potty mouth. I cuss, but before the stroke, I had the heart of a mermaid and the mouth of a sailor. Somehow, after the stroke, my brain changed a little bit and cussing didn't come out. It's not like I tried to stop. It just stopped on its own. Apparently, stressed out me likes an F-bomb. But I think when you go back to the concept of Ikigai and your priorities, you just think about those words being alchemy. You find different ways of communicating different ways of seeing, and don't put the pressure on yourself that you have to know your life's purpose. Sometimes your Ikigai could just be, I'm raising my family. My Ikigai is I come home and I make dinner. My Ikigai is I'm responsible for watering the plants in the house. You do not need to have it be your reason for living. I mean, that's kind of the purpose of it. But maybe give yourself permission to scale that back a little bit. You don't need so much pressure on yourself. You could choose to do, okay, what's my Ikigai today? What's my Ikigai for the week? Or maybe you start with, okay, where does it come from in what gives me joy in my day? What is the purpose of this horrible thing I went through? I learned so much. And my purpose is to share that with people, to teach you what I've learned about the brain, how human beings are biologically wired, and sort of how to get from point A to point B and find the sustainment that will let you make the massive progress that you want. I want you to be able to look back in 6 months or a year and go, hey, Jenna helped me figure this out. And I got from where I didn't like being to this wonderful life that I never even thought possible. If I helped just one of you do that, I lived my Ikigai. Let me give you an example of how that manifested itself in my world. For me to shrink to priority 1, 2, 3, it started in the beginning when I had physical therapy and I was supposed to practice walking with a cane and not a walker. I wasn't even allowed to take a shower on the day I was doing physical therapy. My body couldn't do it all. So you want to talk about stretch goals? The doctor would like me to walk a mile. I can't even walk 4 driveways without a cane. How is that possible? But instead of worrying about the how I was going to get there, breaking it into manageable chunks of priority 1, 2, 3 made sense. At that time, when I was very broken, it was for me, priority 1 was I was just going to make sure that I was ready for physical therapy. If it took a wipe, extra deodorant, and some perfume, okay. I was aware that my instruction was not to shower before it. And that was priority 2, if you will. Priority 1 was, I feel great today. I have the most energy in the world. I'm firing on all cylinders. I'm going to actually take a shower, even though that's not what they want me to do. But I'm going to push myself. Yay. But that was priority 1. It didn't mean that I could do it every time. And priority 3 was, I can barely get up out of bed. My left side is convulsing. My brain is full. I have a headache. Physically, I couldn't do it. Oh man, it would have been so easy to just tell everybody my excuse was physically I couldn't. I don't feel good today. I didn't feel good any day back then. But I think when I put it in those perspectives, 3 priority was I was not going to cancel physical therapy when she arrived at my house because they sent them to my house. I would just tell her, I don't have it in me. And sometimes that would be we did my entire physical therapy with a walker and not a cane. We didn't even attempt to walk. But firing on all cylinders, I would walk around the block, shower before I did it, and on priority 2, I just did the best I could to be ready for when she arrived to push my body. And I promise you that back in those days, after physical therapy, a 2-hour nap was normal. I was exhausted. But again, shrinking that task and setting reasonable priorities helped me sustain it. The way you talk to yourself will set you up for things. So be careful what you say to yourself and others. I bet every single one of us could go back and look at the way we talk to ourselves. And if we talk that way to our spouse or our mother or our boss, we'd probably have a big fire to put out. If you talk that way to your boss, you'd probably be fired. Your mom or sister might not speak to you again. Your partner might go find someone else. Words are alchemy. Be careful what you say to yourself. You're always listening. Think about that for a second. You are always listening. The cells of your body want you to talk to them. They love it when you do. I'm natural to talk to myself in the shower and going, Hey, thanks for losing a pound this week. Or guess what, girl? I saw you lift that bowl. But you know what? Me before the stroke, I did not pat myself on the back. I did not congratulate myself for a single thing. But there was not a person in my life. Yes, girl, you did that. Congratulations on your big win. Why wouldn't I talk to myself that way? And when I started doing that, the cells of my body responded. The energy in my mind responded. There's studies of plants, of all things. And I'm a plant lover, by the way. If you see my house, it's a jungle. Truly, it's a jungle. Ask my kids. But you think about plants, there are studies that they show when speaking positively to plants, they reproduce faster, they grow greener, they grow taller. When speaking negatively to them, their growth is stunted. You are no different. In a way, plants are full of water cells and the same as you. So if you can talk positively to plants and make them grow, why wouldn't you talk positively to yourself? You absolutely deserve it. In fact, I bet from a psychology perspective, if you went back and did the work, you will actually see that the voice telling you you're not good enough is probably not even your own. So watch what you say. Words are alchemy. It's called spelling for a reason. Until next time, remember, karma is real, energy is contagious. Check your vibes.